Hello, loves. Welcome back to the podcast. Happy spring. Today is the first day of spring, and it's actually sunny where I am, which it has been gray for a good long while. It was really starting to get to me. But all is well today. We have some sun. And in the energetic of the spring, which is new life, there is a topic that I want to get into today, and it's creation, but what comes with creation, the cosmic counterpart to creation, if you will, and that is resistance. So being that it's the first day of spring, new things are blooming, new things are in creation, you might have this huge surge of energy, possibility. There are things that can now energetically start moving as the season starts to shift, at least if you are in North America in the Northern Hemisphere. And when we are kind of locked in to this more cyclical way of living, and we feel this energy and this momentum starting to move us in the direction of, well, what's next? What am I creating next? What's the vision? What do I want to birth? What do I want to blossom into? What do I want to create? And then you start playing with those threads. It is inevitable that once certain parts of you get a hold of that, they're going to start throwing up resistance. And resistance gets such a negative reputation in personal development, spirituality, when really I see it as your biggest ally, really. But you have to be able to discern the difference between resistance that is a very clear thread of truth where your body is saying, no, this is not the thing. This is not the direction. You need to pivot. Versus the type of resistance that comes up when you are actually on the right track. And in order to fulfill on your creation, you are going to have to alchemize some shit that's in the way. And that resistance comes up as a way to kind of keep you small and contained and locked into old paradigms, old patterns, old ways of being, old ways of thinking that are familiar. But those ways of thinking, feeling, being, and acting are not congruent with you fulfilling on the outcome of the thing that you want to create. So when resistance comes, I get excited. And, I've been in it. I'm not going to lie. I made a commitment to put together my first poetry collection. And the resistance has been fucking fierce. And I was talking to someone in my life earlier this week, and they were like, well, yeah, that's because what you're doing is significant. It matters. It's something big. And that helped kind of drop me back in of like, oh yeah, that makes a ton of sense why I'm kind of meeting these edges of my resistance. Like, I'm not kidding you. There would be days that would go by where my mind would just be blank. I would sit down to work on it and my mind would just go blank. I have, just to give you reference, over 200 pages in a Google Doc of poetry that I've written in the last 2 years. There is no shortage of pieces to choose from. But where the block was happening was, well, what is the form of this book? Like, you have all these poems, but they're kind of all over the place. There needs to be a through line for what you're creating, which is true. And that is the spot where I was having the most resistance. Like, my brain just kept fogging me out. My body was in dysregulation. Like, my mind would go blank. And I know, based on my history, that when my mind goes blank, it's because there's something that I'm terrified of. Like, my system has gone into shutdown And there's something that is very terrifying that I'm having to confront or face. And this would happen to me as a kid. I would get in trouble and all of a sudden my mind would go blank and I would get asked, "What are you thinking?" And I wouldn't be able to answer, which then obviously would create more chaos and I would get in even more trouble and more dysregulation, like messy. But the truth is, like, that is what happens in my brain. It goes blank. I can't access anything. I can't relate it to that. I obviously can still manage my day and feed myself and move myself and, do other work. But when I was really sitting with this resistance, I'm like, yeah, of course it makes sense. Poetry is very vulnerable and it is a pretty big pivot from what people know of me. And to introduce this is very risky because it could be very well received. It could be very poorly received. And sitting with that threshold of, well, fuck, what if no one buys it? What if no one wants to read it? What if everyone thinks it's total shit? And so the resistance comes before the clarity that that's what's actually running in the background. Because to face that is confronting. To face that those are the thoughts that are spinning in my head is not exactly a comfortable conversation, but it's a necessary conversation. And the way that I like to determine which type of resistance is which, because people can get really fucked up about that, right? How am I supposed to discern that? Well, the first thing I'm going to tell you is that the more you do the emotional alchemy that I talk about and you clear out a lot of the emotional debris that's sitting in your system, the easier this is going to be to clock. The more congested and the more you have like all of this unresolved material in your system, you have to sift through all of that. That becomes a filter. And so the more you clear that out, the easier this is going to be. And also the more that you live in your body. So most people live in their head. And if you live your life in your head will always find a very good argument for both sides. When the answer lives deeper than your mind. It's not in your mind. It's in your body. It's in your intuition. Your intuition's in your body. It's connected to your genitals. And if you are disconnected from your body, if you are disconnected from your sexual energy, if you do not have reverence for your genitals and your sexual energy, that too becomes it's like a scrambling of the frequency. It distorts it. And so this is why I do lay out my work the way that I do, where we focus on embodiment. We focus on getting you in your body and working with sensation in your body so that you can have a relationship with your body, which is your vessel. And then we move into the emotional side of the work where you essentially become fluent in feeling. And we work on the emotions, we work on again, another layer of sensation when it comes to your emotional world. And we start clearing that out, whatever the residual material is. And then we also start building a really healthy relationship with your full range. So you don't have to be, like following this quest of like, I need to be constantly regulated. My God, I'm honestly so sick of the conversation of like nervous system regulation. I'm like, oh my God. Yes. And part of being alive is being dysregulated. You don't want to spend your whole life dysregulated, But if we're on this quest of like, I always need to be regulated, it's another mental construct. It's another mental prison where you're striving for this thing that is actually unachievable. Because the truth is, life is dysregulating. And the point of nervous system work is not to be quote unquote regulated, which for a lot of these people that are talking about it, they kind of collapse it with like being calm. It's not it at all. It's so that you can actually be responsive to your life. I'm more interested in your response ability, your ability to respond to life from a very embodied, integral, and coherent place. That's more important to me than all of these buzzwords that flow through the collective and have people chasing a certain outcome instead of doing the deeper work of coming down and into their body. Because once we actually get you in your body and we kind of clear out some of that emotional constipation, you are actually going to be able to apply the discernment to kind of sit with. And this is the third part of my work, is the relational work, the relational mastery. So this is relationship with yourself, okay? And you were able to sit with and discern, okay, what is the truth here? Not my truth, not my ego's truth, not my mind's truth, but what is the truth? Is this actually a no for me? Is this a signal that I'm going in the wrong direction? And for me, that signal I'm going in the wrong direction is always a very landed clunk deep in my pussy. She's like, no. It's not dramatic. It isn't chaotic. It's just a drop into my body, an anchor in my womb, in my pussy. And she's just like, no. You're going the wrong direction. And the resistance here is because I'm trying to get your attention. You need to pivot. There's this very deep, rich, embodied power to that type of resistance, if I distill it down. And then the resistance that comes up to try and fog me out or take me out because I'm actually on the right trajectory, but it's scary. Who I have to become in order to fulfill on the thing is scary. That type of resistance is chaotic as fuck. It is very mental. It literally takes me, it uproots me. Kind of like a tornado, it's uprooting my system. And I'm not in my body. I'm definitely not in my pussy. And I'm spending a lot of time, there's a lot of buzzy energy, above and behind my eyes and in the top of my head. It gets very exhausting. And that type of resistance also can feel like this film across my skin surface. So it's like this film that I can't quite shake. I'm like, oh, for fuck's sakes. Okay, I know what this kind of resistance is. And when you know what your body cues are, because how my body cues me and how your body cues you will be different. And this is why it's really helpful to work with someone who understands this landscape so that they can walk you through your own exploration so that you can get your own answers of how your unique system works. Because once you know the difference between the two types of resistance and how that presents in your body, you're fucking golden. You literally talk about getting ready to blast off. Whatever your blast off is, maybe the resistance that comes up is not about going out and being on a big stage. Maybe the resistance is I actually have so much resistance to being loved and loved well. Or maybe I have resistance to having a conversation of truth with my partner or my parents or my sibling or my kids, right? Maybe it is you have this dream inside of you, and this is like the type of women that I tend to work with and the type of people that I tend to work with are creatives. They have this thing inside of them that wants to come alive, and their woman, their human has been kiboshing it. No, 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 this is inconvenient. That'll never work. I could never. And then they plug themselves into a path and into a life that is inauthentic. And eventually it breaks, because you can only run inauthenticity for so long before it catches up with you. And when it does, that's usually when people come to work with me. So they're like, okay, I know that there's something in here. I know that I have this dream, whether it's a dream of a relationship, a dream of a family, whether it is a creative dream that they have. Maybe they have a dream for starting a business. I don't know. Whatever the dream is, maybe it's to move to another country. But I'm someone that you come to when you want to start to steward that dream, when you want to start to live by this thread of desire, when you really want to get in right relationship with your body, with your emotional world, and your relational mastery skills. That's when you come to work with me. That is often, it may not be the reason why you initially come in. You initially might come in for a relationship, but you leave with what's true. You leave with a connection to yourself that cannot be fractured again. You leave with the activation of the life that you are here to be living. You leave with that dream literally locked in. You can't abandon it anymore. It's such powerful work, but it's also so deeply honoring and beautiful to be able to foster that with people. Like, I feel very, very grateful and very honored that that is the trajectory that my life has taken, to be able to walk people through these transitions and through these gauntlets and through these, up levels. It's a really cool thing. And when we want to play in this world of possibility, we want to play in the world of creation, we have to go in with a maturity, an emotional maturity. Like, this isn't going to be all sunshine and rainbows and unicorns. There's going to be a lot of that. But you also need to be able to hold the flip side of it. You need to be able to hold the resistance. You need to be able to hold whatever you find in the alchemy of the resistance. And be able to walk yourself through those transitions. Okay? Because resistance isn't going anywhere. And you're much better off to learn how to have approval for resistance versus fighting it and hoping that it goes away, because it's not going away. But your path to creation, whether that is creating a relationship alive, whether that is creating your life alive, your creativity, maybe your desire, whatever it is that you're feeling called to create, you are going to meet resistance. And I want you to be well equipped to be able to navigate that resistance when it comes. So having that framework today, you can start to work with it. And if you really want that juicy, delicious extra support, that's when you come to work with me. You can come into my one-to-one container, which is a minimum 6 months. And that is where we work on who you are becoming. It's such a beautiful container. And it also does include access to all of my curriculums. So you get the 3 parts of my work inside of a one-to-one container. And if group work is more your thing, then you come into one of my group programs. And there's no wrong move you can make. It's just the move that kind of fits with where you are, your time capacity for this work, what's in financial integrity for you. These things matter when making a decision to work with someone. Okay, so I like to have something for every step of the journey. And there are 3 different levels to my group work, so that you can get in on the ground floor and just start working that thread of your embodiment. You can come in and start working on the emotional terrain, or you can come in and do the relational mastery work. And it's really up to you which direction you want to go and how you want to approach it. And my recommendation would be to fill out the application for the one-to-one, and then select that you want to discuss the group programs, and we'll hop on a call and we will talk about it. And if you are like, I just want to get right into the relational mastery, you can click on through and get that first class, send me your application for that, and then we will also have a conversation to make sure that it is a really solid fit. Okay? I love you. Happy first day of spring. And if you are meeting those threads of resistance, slow it down. Like, really start to question, like, what kind of resistance is this? Which type? Is this the resistance that's telling me no? And it's deep and it's rich and it's landed and it's wise and it's unfuckable with? Like, when that resistance comes, like, I can't rationalize my way out of it. It's just a no, and it continues to be a no, 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 no. And then if it's the other type of resistance, it's chaotic, it's constantly changing its story. It's like, well, maybe this, maybe this, maybe this, maybe this, and sending me on a fucking goose chase so that I am completely distracted from the mission of the thing that I'm here to create. And just like this book, it took me sitting in that for about a month. It was about a month where it was like this total chaos. I was fogged out, and I stopped fighting it. I'm like, okay, this is part of the creative process. I'm not behind. This is normal. This is obviously something that really matters to me. And so I'm going to ride this out. I'm going to let it run all the way through. And then there was an inevitable night when it opened. And that's the key of working with me. Like, I don't force. My work is much slower because we actually move at the pace that's true for your system. And we allow your system to open. I'm not interested in serving your mind. I'm interested in serving your soul and working with your human and working with your body, so that whatever you're here to do, you get to have the best fucking time doing it, because you're not constantly fighting your mind. Your body is not constantly, in this state of terror. And then the mind is just like giving it, spanking after spanking. Like, no thanks. Not my vibe. And when we really get into the heart of it and we let the pattern run, we don't fight it. We're like, okay, this is what's happening. I'm just going to let it ride out. And I'm going to do whatever I can to really take care of my human in the meantime. And it didn't mean that I wasn't writing. I just wasn't writing anything that was really that great or that was ultimately going to fit this project. And then the night I was on one of my weed walks, and I think I was listening to music that night. I don't think I was listening to a podcast. And it just dropped in and just opened. And it was like, and this is what it is. I'm like, oh, yeah, that's what it is. Okay. And since that moment, like, it's been easier to access. There's still resistance. There is still resistance to working on it. And that might actually just be the case up until it's done. And I have, created things into form before. I've obviously created a lot with my business. And so I'm no stranger to how to work with that resistance and still cross the finish line. I'm someone who will not be stopped. If there is something true that I'm here to serve and create and foster and bring through, nothing can stop me, not even my own mind. And I'm willing to continue to show up and stay the course. And I know I said last week we talk about commitment, but this felt more relevant. So we'll talk about commitment next week. And I think, dealing with resistance and having this conversation about resistance is an important precursor to having a conversation about commitment, because it's going to come up in that conversation too. And so as I move through this process of like, okay, devotionally every day I'm working on this project. And even if it's like the shittiest poem, even if it doesn't make sense, even if it's just, 10 minutes that I work on it, I'm still in the game. And as I've done that, like the foggy, chaotic resistance has largely calmed down. It's still there, but it's not causing the interference of being able to really work on it. Like I've been able to carve out like hour-long chunks throughout this last week to work on it. And that feels like I've been making some progress. And I just wanted to share all of that with you because it's still very human, very real life over here. And I want you to know that I'm in the game with you. We're doing different things with our mission, but we're all on the court. We're all still showing up, and that really matters. And I know if you're listening to this podcast, if you are in my world in any way, shape, or form, that you are here to make something great of yourself and your life. Whether that's your relationships, maybe you have a book, maybe you're meant to make movies, maybe you are meant to build a community garden, maybe you are meant to start a sewing circle, maybe you're meant to be a chef and you have to like quit being a lawyer to become a chef. I don't know. Maybe you're meant to have like this really incredible relationship. You probably are. Maybe you're meant to move to another country and, start a whole new life over there. Whatever it is that your desire is calling you to follow, it's important that you follow it. And it's also important to know the terrain of following your desire and following your calling, because following that will require you to meet resistance. And it's in the resistance that you are forged, that you end up becoming the person that you need to be to hold the magnitude of the thing that you want to create. Okay? I love you. Thank you for being here. If you're ready to take the next step in doing this work together, please head to the show notes and you can find all of that information there. I love you, and I'll be back next week. Bye, friends.